So for context, I wrote this when I was 17 for a regional writing competition, and I actually got second place for this. And I was looking through my laptop and I found this again. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do a raw recording, which means there's no editing in the writing whatsoever, and just do a recording of this and see how much I changed from before and what went on 17-year-old me's mind. So there we go. Thank you for watching. Good people may seem to be more known and somewhat famous, like a superhero, or the rich who donates often, but good people could just be anyone. For me, it was just a stranger who had no relation to me. It seemed like a random weekday, except I overslept on my ride to school by bus. When I woke up, I found out that I was in the final stop of the bus line. I took a glance at my watch, only to find that there's only 15 minutes left until the first bell of the day rang. Since the next bus won't start until another 15 minutes, so I decided to search for a taxi instead. Oh, how much I wished I wait for the bus. As I walked down the unfamiliar street, not one taxi was in sight. Filled with anxiety and disappointment, I sped walked down the empty sidewalk as I continued to search for the red vehicle on the equally empty street. Time was ticking, and there's barely 10 minutes left before the school rang its first bell, signifying the start of the day. As I went on with my search, a navy blue car drove by. I didn't pay it much attention, until the window of the driver's side drew down, revealing the person behind the wheel. I took a quick glance of the driver before I walked down the street and continued my search, but it was cut short by the driver calling out to me. "Hey little lady, do you need a ride?" He could have been calling someone else, but there were barely anyone around me. The street at 8 a.m. was mute normally, therefore I looked over to the owner of the voice. It was a man, around his 20s probably. He looked innocent enough. I would have mistaken him as a university student. His eyes were doe-like, round and big, supposed to resemble innocence when his glimmered mischief. On top of his eyes were a curtain of bangs, covering his entire forehead and the tip of his ears, with one of them pierced by 2 hooped earrings and the other with a small stud. Normally, I would be attracted by someone like him, but now I'm entirely too occupied with getting back to school safely. So I purposely ignored him and continued my search for the taxi. It seems like the man wouldn't leave me alone. "Hey little lady, are you trying to get to school? I can give you a ride," he called out again. His voice was deep like the calm sea, but it brought nothing but anxiety and fear to me. At this point, I could no longer ignore the man driving beside me. I tried to look as unfazed as possible, but my heart was hammering against my chest. My eyes scanned over the road, desperately seeking an escape from the threat in front of me. I took a glimpse of my watch, finding that I have already been late to school. "You're late, aren't you? I can help you get to school." The man's calm voice rang into my ears. Seems like he wasn't leaving anytime soon. My mother had taught and warned me not to interact with strangers, especially when the stranger approached you first. Ignoring the man, I increased my pace to the busier streets as soon as possible, hoping the more crowded streets there could shield me from the devil in disguise in front of me. "Come on, I mean no harm to you. I'm just trying to help," he said, flashing a grin at the corner of my eyes, knowing well there is nothing innocent behind the smile. At this point, I was begging someone could get me away this nightmare, better yet to wake me up from this terrible dream. My head was pounding with unease as I clenched the hem of my cardigan to keep my composure, knowing well if I show any sign of fear, I had lost the battle against him. "Hey, it's fine, I won't hurt you. I'll just drop you by your school. You're from St. Louis, right? I'm sure you're late already. I'll drive you there and you'll save yourself time from finding a taxi. You know it's useless at this point." The wolf wouldn't give up on letting me go. He even figured out where I study. "Someone," I begged silently. "Someone, please save me, please." The click of a car door opening entered my ear, and I could feel my heart drop. I thought this would be the end. That is when a hand clasped my shoulder from behind, causing me to jolt. I thought I jumped so hard I flew 50 feet off the ground. I flipped my head to who the hand belongs, meeting eyes with a woman with shoulder-length hair, in her late 30s and office wear. I was caught off guard by this woman who seemingly came out of nowhere, and her smile that was tugged on her face was something I didn't expect either. "Katie, I haven't seen you in a while. Why are you here? Aren't you supposed to be in school?" She asked a chain of questions, which left me no time to answer. My name was definitely not Katie, nor do I know her, which left me a confused daze. Not to mention, her smile didn't quite reach her eyes, and her eyes screamed urgency. The man who just stood out from the driver's seat decided to speak up. "Excuse me, but I was about to take her to school." "Oh, really?" the woman said, and stared at me. "Do you know this man?" Her stare was so intense I couldn't find my voice. Instead, I shook my head, signifying I had never met this man ever in my life. "She doesn't know you," she said to the man. "Then why are you trying to take this girl with you? What's your intention?" "I was trying to be nice and take her back to school. Is it that bad for me to be a good person?" the man said. His voice started to sound annoyed, different from his calm demeanor previously. He was obviously trying to guilt-trip the woman, which she was not having any of it. "She clearly looks uncomfortable with you forcing her to do something she didn't want to," the woman replied, her voice going hard. "It'll be better for you to leave her alone, unless you want me to call the police for harassing this girl." The man took a step towards us, and the woman pulled out her phone from her pocket without missing a beat, silently warning him she would do what she just said. The air thickens as the two glare each other down, waiting for one to back down, and I froze under the both, begging for the man to back away first. It could have only been a few seconds, but the glaring contest seemed to went on for a century. After what seemed like an eternity, the man re-entered into his car with an angry huff and drove off to the empty street, and the woman let go of my shoulder that she has held onto the entire time, letting out a quiet sigh of relief. I exhaled a nervous breath I didn't realize I was holding in, and I could feel my legs were about to give out. My energy was strained from all the tensing. "Thank you so much," I immediately said to the woman, my savior, which she only waved it off. "Is what I should do and what I should have done." She flashed another smile. This time it was genuine, and the corner of her eyes were tilted upwards. "But shouldn't you be at school? It's a weekday morning." I took a look at my watch, eyes widening at the reading of 8:40. "Oh no, I'm late." The woman comforted me and called a taxi for me to go back to school. She even paid for my taxi fare, which she left no space for me to protest to pay for myself. After she sent me into the taxi, she walked off before I could thank her again. During the ride, I realized I didn't get a chance to ask for her name. It was a shame I couldn't catch the name of such a good person. I was never so relieved to be able to be scolded by my teachers for being late. At least I was back at school in one piece. And how glad I was to know there were people who would help others and give out generous acts without being known. Ugh. It's been 6 years and it seems like my writing never improved. I'm so sad. I truly peaked at high school.